Okay, it looks like most people have seemed to join. We haven't really got any more new people, so great. I'm actually kind of surprised. I mean, I'm happy so many people showed up. 33 people. I'm really happy about that. I was kind of nervous, like it's virtual. Is anyone even going to show up? So super happy about that. Anyway, I'm going to assume most of you are freshmen, but for those of you who are not, that's totally fine. So this is the call out for the Purdue iOS Development Club. So for our agenda today, we're going to go over a few topics. So the purpose of the club, we're going to look over the executive board. We're going to see what learning opportunities we have. We're going to see how you can participate in the club, and we'll see, what other opportunities the club has to offer you, and what opportunities and how you can help the club out. So, okay, a few people are still joining, so I'm just going to leave it on here for maybe another minute. A bunch of people just joined. All right. I think now's a good time to get started again. So for those of you who just joined, today is the call out for the Purdue iOS Development Club. Overview, what we'll cover today is the purpose of the club. We'll look over the executive board, look over learning opportunities, how you can contribute to the club, and how the club can help you out. So let's get started. The purpose of the club is threefold. One, we want to provide a community for people who are interested in iOS development to talk to each other. So, we want to bring all the. I'm just going to ask that everyone mute themselves until the question section, and then you can unmute people. Anyway, so we want to provide a community for people who are interested in iOS development. So whether that means you're a beginner who wants to get some more experience, or you are someone who's super experienced but wants to bounce ideas off someone, or is trying to learn a new concept, that's what this club is really helpful for. So the way we do this is twofold. We have workshops and we have club meetings. We'll talk about those later. We also want to give you the tools and resources that you need to be successful in learning iOS development. This is not something that's typically taught in Purdue CS. It's not something you'll typically learn on your CS degree. This is something you kind of have to go out of your way to learn. So we want to provide you with the best resources we possibly can. And lastly, we want to provide some professional opportunities to the active members of the club. You'll see, actually, we're going to be presenting one of these professional opportunities later in the call out today. But this generally comes down to giving getting real world experience to members so they can put that on their resume and use that towards getting internships or getting just building up their resume or simply because they're interested in it. So those are the three main purposes of the club that we have for this year. So the executive board right now, the four main positions that we like to keep around is the president, the senior vice president, a vice president, and a treasurer. Um, we sometimes will have more positions than these. This is just the core part of the executive board that we want. I am hoping to find someone who's interested in helping market the club because the club will be mostly run virtually for at least the foreseeable future. Um, Having someone to help out with that is going to be really helpful for this semester. So if that's something you're interested in, please reach out. And also, we still have a vice president and the treasurer roles are empty right now. So if those are roles you're interested in, also reach out. We can talk about that. So currently on the executive board, it's me. I'm the president of the club. I'm a senior in computer science. I was the vice president for the last 2 years. If you were in the club last semester and you're like, who is this guy? I've never seen him before. I took last semester off to do an internship at Apple. So I'm back now. I've interned at Bloomberg and Fulcrum. And after I graduate this year, I'll be headed back to Apple to be a software engineer. So Anderson, if you want to introduce yourself and say a bit about you.
Yep. So hello everyone, I'm Anderson. I'm a junior in CS and I've been part of the club since my freshman year. And I think I was the vice president, I guess last semester while Harjus was over at Apple. And I've been a tech fellow also for the CS 490 course that we'll talk about a little bit later. I've been a TA last spring and plan to be another TA this spring. So really enjoy teaching and helping people get to understand iOS development. And I'm excited to be a part of the club this year.
Cool. Awesome. So again, we have those other positions on the executive board that are open. So if that's something you're interested in, just there'll actually be a form at the end of this that you can express that in. So we can talk about that then. So learning opportunities at the club. So there's three main ways. There's workshops, club meetings, and the CS490 iOS course. So workshops are tailored towards teaching certain concepts of iOS development to club members or non-club members. Generally, what we like to do is for the first 3 or 4 workshops are very much like beginner workshops. We assume you don't know anything about iOS development, and we get you from nothing to you can build basic iOS apps and know most of your way around Xcode and are able to use like the iOS APIs. That is the goal of the first few workshops. And then after that, that's when we get into some of the more interesting workshops. For example, last year we did an AR kit workshop where, you were able to use the phone camera and draw like an AR object in 3D space. Or we might use a Core ML workshop where we can use Apple's machine learning libraries to build something interesting. Sometimes we'll build like fully fledged applications. Like one time we built a fully working instant messaging application. So those kinds of workshops will happen like the second third of the club. The first third will mostly be focused on like let's get everyone at a basic level of skill set so we can work on those more complicated and more interesting projects. Club meetings are going to be mostly focused on like how the club will be run and also focus on planning for the Purdue app. So if you're a freshman or if you just don't know about it, the club has their own Purdue app on the iOS App Store. We'll talk about that in a bit. Most of the club meetings will be focused on that. Club meetings are also focused on like club projects and the running of them. Our biggest one is the Purdue app. It's the one that's been running for the longest, for like 6 years now. I wasn't even around when that project started, so it's really cool it's still running. So that'll be the main focus of club meetings. And then the CS490 iOS course. So this is a course that we run in conjunction with Purdue and CodePath, which is a nonprofit that we work with. It is a recognized CS course at Purdue. You get 3 upper level credits if you take it. It lasts for 15 weeks. So that's actually perfect because the last week is within 15 weeks we're done. So you have all of that week. You can focus on other classes and finals. You don't have to worry about this. We usually have anywhere between 25 to 40 students. In the class, you're going to be building three fully fledged applications and six labs. This is condensed in the first 7 weeks, and then for the second 7 to 8 weeks, will be focused on your group project, which is a project up to your group's discretion, as long as it's like interesting or complicated enough to build out to do with what you will. And usually we will demo this to either the entire class, or often we have the demos happening inside Lost in Commons. We probably won't do that next semester, simply because the state of the world. But yeah, the club is really interested. If you want to get like really, really deep dive into every single possible facet of iOS development, this class does get really deep into that, where the club is going to be more focused on basics and then specific topics after that. Um, so when those applications, you're fully you're kind of not handheld, but you are given pretty clear instructions on how you start, processes, and me and Anderson, and hopefully a few other TAs will be running the course next semester. So any questions you have, like, all of us are more than experienced enough to answer them. We've all been through it, so it's a really great way to learn more in depth about iOS development. I'll note we only offer this course in the spring semester, so if you are interested in this course, just know you have to sign up for next semester, or you got to wait a year. So some of the example projects that we built in this club are pretty simple. On the left-hand side, we have a simple iOS application that shows you what are the currently popular movies. You can click on the poster and get some information about them. More complicated project we do is the fully fledged Twitter client, where you can view your tweets, you can log in, log out, retweet, reply to tweets, stuff like that. So that's the first time we go let's go fully out, fully complicated iOS application. And then right hand side is one of the bigger projects we do is the Instagram app. This is not your typical Instagram app, because we also have you build the backend for it. So it kind of gets you both experiences with building an iOS application, but also building the corresponding backend for it, which a lot of people like that experience. These are the three projects that everyone will do. And then after that, these three main projects, you'll be focused on making your group project to be whatever you want it to be. And I mentioned earlier about professional opportunities. A lot of the people who are active in the club and who take the course go on to work for many major companies, simply because that experience on their resume is just so valuable. So we have people from the club who've gone to Apple, to Microsoft, to Fulcrum, to Amazon. Sorry, I said Fulcrum. That's just where I interned. Facebook, Instagram, right? All these big companies. I'm sure there's more that we just don't know about. And it's just a really good way to build out a skill set that recruiters find interesting. I know from my personal experience, my first internship that I got freshman year would not have been possible at the club. The first internship I got relied on the skills that I learned in the club and learned in the class that I took. And it was just completely essential. And for freshmen, getting an internship is not easy. I know that. I struggled through that. I didn't get one until late second semester. So this is just a great way to get yourself a jump start for getting an internship freshman year or even sophomore year. Or later. It doesn't have to be then. So how do you participate in the club? So again, besides for the workshops, they're mostly focused on teaching. We'll also have club projects and personal projects. So the club project that we are most interested in is the Purdue app. That's the one that has the most traction. I talked about it earlier. We're actually working on some pretty cool updates for iOS 14 right now. So if that's something you're interested in, join the club. I'd love to have more people working on it. Right now, we're actually iOS is going through a pretty interesting transition, and so is a lot of Apple's developer technology. So the app is very much in a state of flux right now. So this is a great time to join and help contribute to the Purdue app. And what's really cool about the Purdue app is that, it's a real app on the App Store. We have about 4,000 monthly active users. We're actually more popular on the Purdue app. So if you have to go on the App Store and just Google search for Purdue, we're the first one that pops up, and then like the official Purdue apps are later. So I find that really cool. And this is another place to get real development experience, which not only is super valuable experience wise, but it's also great to put on your resume. Just being able to, talk to a recruiter and be like, oh yeah, here on my phone, here's the Purdue app. This is the feature I helped build. Just that is just so powerful when you're talking to recruiters. It can almost always get you the interview, which is, in my opinion, often the hardest part about getting an internship. So working on this is great. We are open to other club projects. This is just the one we mostly focus on. If for some reason you don't have the app, you can scan this QR code and get it right now. I'll leave it up for 30 seconds. Yeah, so the app is a little buggy right now, so we're actually gonna have to. I'm actually looking now for active members who are willing to work on the app for the next semester or so, so we can iron out bugs, clean up the UI. A lot of you who are not freshmen will know that we used to use Blackboard. Not the app, but like Purdue used to use Blackboard, and they transitioned over to Brightspace this semester. The Purdue app has a really nice integration with Blackboard, so that's kind of useless now. So one of the major projects for the club this semester will be ripping out the Blackboard integration and replacing it with a Brightspace integration. And that's not going to be easy. That's going to be quite a bit of work. So, we're looking for people who are willing to work on these kinds of projects. So that sounds something you're interested in. Again, come to the club meetings. And also we help out with personal projects. So whether this is a app you want to build for yourself, or you are a club on campus who, not technically oriented, but they want to build an app, we have so many people reach out to the club to work on just personal projects or side projects, or even for school. We have lots of epics teams, which are within the college of engineering, reach out to us to help build out iOS apps. And we also have startups on campus come to us all the time to talk about building iOS apps for them. So this is another avenue that if you don't work on the Purdue app, but you still want to get iOS experience, there are other avenues to get that from within the club, whether it's by you or your friends, or just some startup that reaches out to us. Now to work in the club, it is an unfortunate barrier. You do need macOS in some fashion. Now, this does not have to be a Mac. You can run macOS in a virtual machine, and then you can go to the Mac App Store and download Xcode. Those are the two essential tools for the club, because you can't really do iOS development without those two tools. So if you have a Mac, great. If not, if you have a Windows machine, you can download a Mac VM and run Xcode through the VM. There are some restrictions, but most of them are just, you can't upload to the App Store, but you can still develop the app and test it, which is what most of the club will be focused on. So you can still be pretty active in the club, even if you have a Windows machine. And I see you guys are posting questions in the chat. I'm going to take a look in a bit. So what's next in the club? What's next for you guys? So we want you guys to keep in touch with us. The best way to do that is on the Facebook group. So there's the link, the QR code is on the left-hand side. Go there, join the group. All the club meetings, workshops, any relevant information will be posted there, and you can look there. I'll also be posting all the information to the boiler link as well. The only thing with the boiler link is everything that gets posted there has to get approved. So it will always be less up to date than the Facebook group is. So if you want the most updated information, join the Facebook group. And for club meetings this year, obviously, because of the state of the world, we're probably going to run most of them to be virtual. So just trying to figure out the best way to do that. So please go, if you're interested, please fill out the form. right here, or scan the QR code. And it's a pretty quick form. It's just like your name and like when you would want to, like the times that the would work for you this week for club meetings. So I really appreciate if you could fill those form out for us, so we kind of have a better sense of who we're working with, when the club is going to happen, and just like what your interests are. So really would appreciate that. And if you are also interested in those like leadership roles, you can specify that in this form. So before we get to questions, I mentioned earlier that I was going to show you one of the professional opportunities the club offers. And I have been talking to a Purdue student named Cole for the past few months, who's been working on this really interesting project with him and a couple of other college students. And they're looking for iOS developers. So I'm going to have him talk right now, talk about his project, and um, present about it. So Cole, if you want to share your screen or your video, or just talk with audio, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ross. Appreciate that. So I can share my screen. I'll show you guys the website here in a second. But basically, I'll talk about it before he gives me the host access. But basically, hi, everybody. My name is Cole Willis. I am one of the co-founders of the Wide app. Wide is it's the very first social networking app that allows students to create a group with their friends and connect and match with each other, and connect and match with other friend groups on campus. So it's an easier, quicker, and safer way to connect with each other while making it less socially awkward. So right now in our development of our company, we're looking to release a beta version of the app at Purdue, IU, and Ball State this fall. Right now we're in the north of 1,300 plus early access signups. So 1,300 people interested and excited about using the app, but we need help with infrastructure. So right now on our team, we have one full-time developer. He is actually in the call right now. His name's Dre. And we have another temp developer, but we're looking for 2 full stack developers right now. And the full stack we're running is React Native for the front end, so experience in JavaScript, HTML and CSS, and then building the back end with MongoDB, writing in NoSQL and Express.js. So if I can share my screen here. Yeah, here we go. So here is our website. That needs to reload. It's just because the network here is trash. But this is our website. This is just a little bit about the Wide app. Like I said, it allows kids to basically match with groups. And here's an individual profile. And you can talk with your groups once you match with them in a group chat. And then eventually in the future, kids can make events and hang out with each other and kind of encourage people to take that digital experience into real life ones. So here's our signups. And this is where you can sign up for early access. But if you guys think this is a good opportunity, and this is something you guys want to be a part of, you guys will be part of the founding team. You can actually click to become a developer and just fill out this form, first name, last name, email, and phone. And then we just ask you to put some of your language experience. If you have a GitHub, that's perfect. We definitely want to take a look at that. Any past projects, and then why you think you would be a good fit for Wide. So that's all I have to say about the Wide app. Thank you, Ross, for letting me talk.
Great. So let me get my screen back here. All right. I think everyone can see that, hopefully. So again, if you haven't filled out the form, please do so right now. Yeah, so I think Cole had a link in where he could submit your interest, but if you want, you can also just reach out to me and I'll forward your information to him. So this is just one example of opportunities the club will offer. I'm also in talk with with a former Purdue student who was working on iOS applications at a company, and I'm I'm gonna have him come at some point to just like give a talk about like what it's like to actually be a developer working on iOS, and just like what it is after you graduate. And he's also gonna might be helping out with getting internships as well for his company. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around. I'm going to probably schedule that hopefully in the next few weeks. So let me actually take a look at some of the questions you guys have been posting, so I can just answer them right now. The session will be recorded. I will send out a link to everyone who fills out the form and puts their email down. I will send out a link where they can view it. Is CS490 offered to freshmen or just upperclassmen? It's offered to everyone. You don't even need to be a CS major. It is a upper level CS class, but it's not as difficult as an upper level CS class. If you can handle CS 180, you can handle this class. It is mostly project focused. There are no exams. There are no quizzes. You get a week or two to work on you get a week to work on a project in a lab. They're pretty maintainable, and you have lots of help with them. So if you feel like you might get overwhelmed by it, don't worry. I took it as a freshman. I think Anderson also took it as a freshman. Don't worry about that at all. So the GitHub repo link for the Purdue app right now, it is private. You have to get added to the Purdue app, to the Purdue GitHub account as a contributor. But once you join the club, we will add you so you can view all the source code and submit pull requests. I completely encourage that. I have thought about making it public, but we'll see if that happens. Not. Someone posted that they weren't sure about working with Cole because he's a freshman. I would just say, give it a shot. If you have the skills, just do it. Do we need to have programming experience for the club? No. The first workshop especially will be kind of focused that you don't even really know how to code, and then after that we'll start just building on top of them. But because the workshops will be virtual, they'll be recorded, so if you can't make them, you can just watch them and view them all in a box. How do I get macOS thing on a Windows PC? Download a VM. There's lots of online tutorials for that. If you want, you can email me about that, and I'll get you some more information. How many hours a week outside meetings should I plan to contribute to the club? For hours a week, that's really up to you. It's however much time you want to put into it. All I'll say is the more you put in, the more you'll get out of the club. You can just show up for meetings for once a week if you want, and that's it. But I would encourage if you want to contribute to the club projects, or if you want to host a workshop. I didn't mention this earlier. The workshops are not just all hosted by me. I will be hosting some of the few. Anderson will hopefully be hosting a few of them. But I want everyone in the club to be hosting workshops. I want us learning from each other. So it's really up to you how much you want out of the club. You decide how much time you want to put in. If you join this year, must you take CS490 this year? No. So that's an additional thing the club offers you, but that is not a requirement ever. It's just if you want to delve deeper into certain topics and just more standard skill sets of iOS development, that's just an option for you. You're not required. Are we required to be on campus to be part of the club? So for this semester, at least, no. I will be running everything, so it's virtually accessible, and at least for the next week or two, at least everything will be virtually only. I have put in an option on the form that if you want there to be in-person events, it's something I am open to. It's something, obviously we've done this in the past. I just need to just find a way to figure out if the risk is worth it or not. And part of that will be dependent on how many people are interested in having in-person events. But even if we have in-person events, there still will be like a live Zoom call running. So you can, even if you aren't on campus, you're not going to miss out on anything, no matter what. So I think, what all did you do to land an Apple job, and what do you recommend we put on GitHub? All right. So I will say this, getting a job at Apple from Purdue is especially difficult because um, Purdue is not one of Apple's target schools, so they don't actually come to campus. They don't actively recruit from campus. The way I did it is I actually reached out to specific engineers from at Apple who were looking to hire interns, and that just kind of gets you past like the application wall. Well, the way Apple's applications work are very different from other companies. It's kind of also just a black hole. So if your thing is getting a job at Apple, which was my goal when I started as a freshman, like you gotta get in contact with people within Apple. You can apply online, but I find that especially for internships, that's very ineffective for Apple specifically. Um, what I did is actually reached out via Twitter to some Apple engineers, and that's actually how I got the internship. So you have to be super active with Apple if you want to get a job with them. As for what you put on GitHub, basically put up everything you're willing to put up. Put every single personal project that you have ever worked on, and that includes projects that we work on in the club. So when we're working on projects in the club, I encourage you to follow along, and then if don't happen to fish in the club, or if you happen to add extra features, go put it on your GitHub. The more projects you have in your GitHub, the better it looks for recruiters, the more likely you are to get that interview. Um, I think that pretty much wraps up everything. I want to say I'm going to stay on the Zoom call for another 20 or so minutes. If anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And um, I'll also, Anderson, if you want to answer questions while we're waiting, unmute yourself and you can do that. And besides that, like, thank you all of you guys for showing up. I'm really glad this all kind of went off without a hitch. First virtual call out, hopefully the last virtual call out we have to do, but yeah. Thank you everyone for showing up. Again, please, if you fill out the form if you haven't already, and if you have any more questions, I'll be sticking around. Just post them in the chat, or yeah, just put them in the chat and I'll try to answer as many as I can. How will we communicate? Discord, Slack? We have a GroupMe. Actually, I should. I'll send out an email with the GroupMe link. If you fill out the form, you'll get it. I'll also put it on the Facebook page and everywhere else. That's where we are currently at right now. And I'll put it in the chat right now if anyone's interested. Settings. Hey, actually, Anderson, I can't find the link right now. Can you just post the link for the GroupMe into the chat?
Yeah, let me find it.
Yeah. In addition to the iOS Dev Club, are there any Purdue CS clubs you'd recommend? So I have been mostly being active with the iOS Dev Club, but Purdue Hackers is great. They host a lot of cool workshops across like a wide variety of topics. So I would recommend you go look at them. I don't know if the Web Dev Club is still active. I know they were when I was a freshman and a sophomore. I don't know if they're still working on stuff. But I found that club was super helpful too. So those are my recommendations. Anderson, do you have any?
For clubs, SIGApp, a lot of the SIG, like SIG, those organizations are always good. They have a pretty good infrastructure. SIGApp is good. SIG AI is good. Yeah, I see SIGBots in the chat. All of those have pretty good infrastructure, and I think they're pretty well run, and you can learn a lot from them. So that's also another thing I'd recommend.
Also, if you're not strictly interested in iOS development, but you are interested in the club, we do have a pretty complicated backend server for the app. And if you want to work on backend development, please, we need help with backend development. And I see Anderson just posted the GroupMe link in the chat. So if you want to join the GroupMe, you can do so now. Yeah, I'm actually just gonna. Yeah, the link is either in the chat or you can see it on the screen now. And if you don't want to publicly announce your question, you can just email me or um, put your question into the form. Again, there's a slot for questions. So if you want to publicly ask them, you can put them there, and I'll make sure to reach out to everyone who asks a question and respond.
Oh, if we wanted to reach out to you, maybe with help with setting up a VM, something like that, is there anywhere you'd want us specifically to go? Like, can I just find you through Facebook, that sort of thing?
Facebook is anything is fine. Facebook, the group me, you can just contact me there, and I'll also just put up my email, so you can also just email me if you want. So my email is nhmonga@purdue.edu. Yeah. So if you want to reach out to me directly, you can just do that there, or you can put it into the form, or you can DM me on GroupMe or Facebook, whatever you want. I'll probably see it. It might take some time if I respond to you on Facebook because it's if you're not we're not friends, it doesn't send a notification. I have to actually open up the app. So if you want, pretty much instantaneous response, then I would say group me and email are the fastest way of doing that. Cool. Then, yeah, and I'll just put it into the chat so you can copy paste it to my email. Yeah. And if you want to just speak your question, you can probably just unmute yourself and speak the question if you have one.
Hey, I got a question.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've heard of Flutter, but I've worked with Flutter before.
Yeah, I've heard.
How much of that can I translate into this club?
So I've heard of Flutter. Isn't that Google's?
Yeah, it's a framework. They use the language called Dart.
Yeah.
And it lets it so you can make iOS and Android at the same time.
Right. So we don't focus on Dart or Flutter specifically. We're really focused on native. Hey, sorry. Before I get back to you, Anderson, someone's saying the group me isn't joinable. Can you take a look at that?
Yeah, let me look.
Thanks. Anyway, we don't really focus on that. If that's something you're interested in, by the way, that is something we'd want you to run a workshop on, by the way. If you're like, oh, I like Flutter, and you want to show all of us Flutter stuff, you should, by the way, you should totally run a workshop on that. I'd be happy to have that. But most of the workshops are going to be focused on iOS specific stuff. A lot of the paradigms will be the same. Oh, you have a view controller and you push a view controller onto a stack, and then or you pop up a view controller, or you do stuff like that. So a lot of that does translate well in terms of concepts, just not as much in implementation wise.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it looks like the group me link is working. It's just kind of buggy. So if it doesn't work for you, just try again. I don't know why that's an issue, but yeah. Also, the app needs to be significantly updated for iOS 14 support, mostly the widgets. So if you want to work on that, please join quickly because I don't want to do that all by myself. Yeah, it comes out tomorrow. I'm like, Apple, you only gave us a 24-hour notice of iOS 14 is coming out. And like, I have projects to work on for Glass. I don't have time to redo all the widgets for the app. Um, so no, we are really interested in having people actively develop for the app. When will the recording be available? So right after the meeting ends, in about 18 minutes, I'll upload it to YouTube probably, and I'll just email everyone out the YouTube link and like put it on the boiler link and put it on the Facebook and just like spam everywhere with it. So you should be able to find it. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to check out the forums in a bit after the meeting ends, but just out of curiosity, how many of you are on campus and how many of you guys are completely virtual? It's like, just post it in the chat just so I have a general sense. Okay, so a few of you are virtual, but it looks like most of you are on campus. For those of you that are completely virtual, don't worry. There will, for at least for the entire semester, I can guarantee there will be some virtual offering of the club. All of the content will be virtually available. Cool. So, all right. Um, I'll be right back. Just one quick second. Interesting. It looks like the plurality of you guys prefer Friday afternoons for meetings, which I was like, I wasn't sure if I should, like, I'm available on Fridays, but I wasn't sure if, like, I'm kind of boring college student compared to most people. So I'm like, are people going to be available on Friday, like, after class? But it turns out they are. Oh, wow. Okay. It's about 92% of people are, if we could run in-person safe meetings, would want them. Okay, if that's the case, I will try to do something. They won't be every meeting, but they will be the probably some of the workshops I might try to run in person, or some of the like planning meetings, just because such a overwhelming plurality want them.
Will the workshop still be recorded for virtual students?
Yes, everything, club meetings to virtual, everything will be recorded.
Is there anything you can recommend for us to get started with this first week? I don't know, like just set up a VM, maybe look at some websites just to get
Yeah,
started.
so I would first of all set up the development environment, simply because it takes a long time to get everything set up, even if you don't have to download VM. So step one, get the VM running. Step two, I have never set up a VM personally, but I know there's lots of online tutorials to do it. I might send that out. Is that something people want me to find the information for and send them? I can do that.
That would be nice.
Um,
I usually have to set up a Linux VM too, so I don't know, just getting a little bit more help would be nice.
Yeah, I'll send out probably links, some couple of links for instructions on that. But set up a VM or have macOS running natively. Get Xcode downloaded and installed on your computer. It will take forever, right? I do not join like the first club meeting where we're going to use Xcode, and expect to like install it then, because it will take forever. It's like a 10 gig download, and then it'll take like 30 minutes. It'll take like an hour for it to install, depending on how fast your computer is. So just set that up as soon as you can. Um, And I can send out a couple of basic tutorial links on just like, here's some very beginner basics of iOS development, but that'll pretty much be covered again in the first workshop. So I'm not sure quite how important that is. What I will send out is the Swift standard language guide. If you don't, most of you probably don't know Swift because it's pretty Apple specific. Swift is a pretty interesting language. I actually really like it a lot, but there are a couple of quirks with it, in that it has some features that are just not in other languages that you've likely used before. So it does make a slightly higher learning curve than is desirable. So I'll send out just like a Swift crash course, just so if you don't want to have the overhead of learning Swift and iOS development at the same time, it'll be a bit easier for you guys. Um, so I keep getting questions about like, I'm a distance learning student and I don't have much programming experience. Can I still join the club? There is no gatekeeping here. Everyone is welcome to join the club. CS major, not a CS major. In-person distance learning, zero programming experience, God tier programmer. Everyone is welcome. And you put in as much as you want to the club, and like me and Anderson and the rest of the club, we're here to help you as much as possible, and also like work on projects together because it's just fun. So don't feel like overwhelmed by joining the club. It is what you want to make of it. Someone was asking about mentors. So for mentorships, like there are people in the club who are pretty well qualified to be mentors, and for at least for iOS development. And they're asking about like working multiple people from the club to work on it. Like, please do. That is the point of the club. We want to like get these groups of people together who want to work on these applications, and provide like this resource and community for that. We want to facilitate that as much as possible. So like, yes, please, if you want a mentor, find someone in the club. If you want people to work on an app together, find someone in the club. That is what we're here for. If you can't find anyone, like, just reach out to me and I will do the best I can to match you up with someone. And again, I keep getting questions: are we required to be on campus to be part of the club? Nope, not required at all. At least not this semester. And depending on how next semester, if next semester is also virtual, then not next semester either.
I don't know if you saw it, but they just sent out an email saying that there is a virtual option for second semester as well. So I feel like it's going to be a large chunk of
Okay, so that next semester will also be virtual then.
Yeah, it's actually good that like we can record everything like through Zoom, so like it's just all the resources will be there. It's pretty.
Yeah, I mean
It
that's one of
worked
the
out.
nicest. Yeah, that is actually super cool. We've never done that before. Or like I think 4 years ago all the club meetings were recorded and then we just stopped doing that. So I guess, one of the biggest complaints that we get is often like the workshops kind of often like build on top of each other. So if you weren't at the previous workshop, it's kind of hard to be engaged in the future ones. But guess that will be less of an issue now because everything's pre-recorded. You can watch it on your own time. Um, so yeah. I was not expecting so many of you wanting in-person events. Okay, cool. I will make it happen somehow. Um, the way the in-person events rules, I actually looked into it. We need to notify Purdue about in-person events about 2 weeks in advance. So any in-person events that happen are going to be at least probably more than 2 weeks away from now, but they will happen eventually. Yeah. Yeah. At this point, like, if you stick around if you have questions to answer, but at this point, feel free to log out if you want.
I kind of joined a little bit late to the meeting. Could you explain what kind of are you guys going to be doing like a project this semester, or is it kind of like a learning workshop kind of thing?
So we have a couple of things that we'll be doing. So one, we'll have workshops available throughout the semester. So we'll start off with, let's learn some basic concepts of iOS development, and then after that, we'll get into some of the more advanced and fun topics to work on. And then concurrently with that, we'll be having just normal club meetings. So I'll be mostly focused on club projects that we work on. The main one being the Purdue app on the App Store. Um, so there's lots of work that needs to be done on that app, and that's probably where most of the non-workshop effort will be going into. Um, so it's both working on workshops and the main club projects, but then also if you want help with personal projects or other school projects, like also come to the club and like we'll see what we can do.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And
will all the recordings be posted to Facebook, or is there like a YouTube channel I should look for? Just where should I check?
yeah, I'll upload them to YouTube and then I'll post the link onto Facebook so you can follow the channel if you want, or you can also just go to the Facebook page. Everything will be everywhere is what I'm trying to get at. And I see a couple of people are already trying to join the boiler link, so I'm going to go ahead and approve people for that.
Just curious about the Apple hiring. How many people do you know out of Purdue that are actually going to Apple?
For internships or full time?
Oh, both. Just to get like a sense of how the hiring scheme is.
As far as I knew, there was only one other intern at Apple from Purdue while I was there. And then I know, I personally know of 3 people besides myself who have been hired to work at Apple over the last couple of years. Again, I don't know everyone who's gone from Purdue to Apple, but those I feel like I probably know most of them.
I'm just curious. I just wanted to see what
Like,
the scene looks like.
I'm not gonna lie, getting into Apple from Purdue is not easy just because when I was there, I took a look at the roster of like interns, and over half of them were from like Stanford or UC Berkeley. So like
I mean, I can imagine. We're all like local
They're-
too, so I get
they're
it.
very California school heavy.
One other thing. Who is the person that ended up at NVIDIA from the iOS club? I was interested in their company for a while.
Oh, I don't really know. That slide has been around for a while, and people just keep updating it with cool companies every time there is one. So I can probably find out if you're really interested, but I actually don't know.
I only asked that because I work with I'm working with CUDA right now. I have an NVIDIA graphics card. I have a little bit of stake in it.
Okay. Yeah, I can try to find out for you, but I think that was before my time. At least before my time as like in a leadership role, so I wouldn't really have known them.
But yeah, that's okay. Thank you for hosting this. It was really insightful.